All right, man. Let's start at the beginning. You're originally from Mount Oliver, Pennsylvania, right? Born and raised.
Mm. Born and raised, yes, sir.
And Mount Oliver is basically like a city within a city because it's surrounded by Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, it's in, like, literally, like, the heart of Pittsburgh. It's in the south side of Pittsburgh, but it's a borough and, like, you know what I mean? Literally, like, you could halfway down the street, you could throw a rock and hit the south side of Pittsburgh, and it's like yeah, it's, like, on the way up the hill, it's in the South Hills area of it, yeah.
Got you. And so then you grew up with three siblings, two brothers, and one sister, right? You're the youngest?
Yes. Mm.
Okay. And what did your parents do for work?
My mom was just a stay-at-home mom, and then my dad just did odd jobs, man, like, I remember, like, just not like, I remember he used to carry TVs, like, floor models, not I mean, like, he would whatever, drag them, whatever the hell, like, I remember he delivered Chinese food for a little bit. I remember he dishwashed, like, just really, he never had he worked janitor at a bank a couple years. I mean, he was always a good worker for these places that he worked for, but none of them ever like, the business would get shut down or whatever, and he'd have to find a new job.
But your dad is a was a vet, right?
My dad was. He was a vet from '68 to '70. He went in '68, and he did his 3 years, and then yeah, that was it.
Got you. Yeah. So what was it like for you as a child? Like how would you describe the dynamic of your family? Were you guys all really close with each other?
So, I think my mom and dad, they did a really, really nice good job of, like they'd never favored one over the other or anything, and the 4 of us were born within 5 years of each other, right? So, my oldest brother is, like, 5, a smidge over 5, like, maybe 5 years and 2 months older than me. Um, I mean, we were close, yeah, but we were always looking for we kinda would pit each other against each other. I mean, we all had things about each other we didn't care for. My sister being the only girl, she definitely probably had the toughest of the 4 of us. Um, but yeah, I would say we were close up into, for a long time.
Mhm. And what was the dynamic of like your parents? Like were they very like nurturing and loving towards each other and you guys or like how was were they like,
They were my parents loved each other, you know what I mean? I mean, they weren't over the top like, public displays of affection or whatever, but my dad loved my mom loved my dad. Um, but I think money was always an issue, being poor was always an issue. Feeling like my mom's family, her dad was very successful, so it was the big, like, I guess, letdown that my dad, won my mom over. Like I said, we lived in Mount Oliver and, we would have shit like, in the winter, our pipes always froze. We had like holes in the roof where like raccoons lived and shit, and we just didn't have the money to get the shit patched. So you'd be sleeping and hear scurrying about. It was fucking terrifying. Like when it would rain, we'd have like buckets, you know what I'm saying, to collect the rainwater. Like I said, the pipes would freeze. My dad be down there with a blow dryer. We typically you'd have photos of one of us wearing a shirt during a school picture day and the other one wearing the next one the year late. Like it was very, you know what I mean? Money was the biggest issue constantly. And my dad, as much as, he was a wonderful man, like he bitched a lot about finances. So like you always knew, like if you were 8, like 6, 7, 8, we knew what, lie heap was, a shut off notice was, you know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, he was they were great towards us. They did the best they could, you know. But yeah, that was pretty but just a poor upbringing, you know what I mean?
got you. What were you like as a kid? Like would you just say like you were quiet, you were social, into school or sports?
I was definitely into sports big, but I was very, very like attention starved, dude. I remember I would go in recess and we had this big hill and I would just jump down the hill and fall down the hill to entertain people. Like, I did anything I could to just entertain people, like, whether it be at my own expense. I was in fights a lot when I was real young. I was a bit of a knucklehead. My parents were overwhelmed. Like, my dad, I remember him telling me later in life, he's like, "Yeah, son, I didn't want any kids." I'm like, "Dad, you had 4 and 5 years, like, did they not have protection when you were what's your deal, dude?" Like, but he was always trying to pay bills, and my mom was suffering from depression, and she was very overwhelmed. So, like I said, they loved us, but we were left to our devices a lot of times, and, yeah, I was certainly always the class clown, always getting phone calls. I was very smart, but not ever maximizing my potential in school. Loved I played all sports, but football I was really, really big on, all the way up through high school, and that was, like, my thing.
So, did you notice, like, from a early on, like, kinda like the tone in the household where, like, everybody was very, like, on edge or overwhelmed and everything like that? Like, did that, like, personally impact you?
So, the one thing I'll say, and this still sticks with me to this day, is my dad and mom, like, they were very when I guess they say a lot of adults, you should keep your problems between each other internal, like, the kids should know. Like, my dad was the type, he'd be like, "Hey, can I have a dollar for the store?" And he might be like, "I just had to pay a $150 electric bill. I just had to," and you're like, a fault I would say is we were more aware than we should have been of the financial struggles. But again, we were always out of the house. Like, we go play football, we play deck hockey, we go, you know what I mean? We just run the neighborhood or whatever. So that wasn't it's not like we were sitting in the house all day hearing about watching bills being counting and knees being scrounged together.
So, you were talking about you played, football, like, all the way to high school. Um, your teammate was, Wiz Khalifa's right-hand man, right? Chevy Woods?
I played ball with Chevy Woods. Yeah, Chevy was a senior when I was a freshman. The funny thing, Chevy was really good at football too. He was good at hoops, but he was like Pennsylvania every year has this thing called the Fabulous 22, which is the 22 best players in the state, or excuse me, the western side of the state. And I went to like a small high school and what didn't win a lot. So for him to be on this list, he was getting looked at by like Notre Dame and freaking, D1 schools. He was 6'4", 220, wide receiver. Defense, I don't know. He didn't play a lot of defense, but he ended up eventually going and playing basketball instead before ultimately him and Wiz had formed a relationship and he was able, he's doing wonderful things obviously through hip hop and rap. But yeah, he was the stud, man, like is a football player. He was legit.
Wow. Oh, so you knew him before he even knew Wiz.
Yeah,
Got you,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, I don't know if he did or didn't know Wiz. I mean, Wiz wasn't even a rapping thought. This is,
Right.
you circa 2002, so Wiz is younger than me, so Wiz would have been in like middle school or something,
Mhm.
maybe at the oldest. And yeah, funny thing is, back when they used to haze freshmen, Chevy was one of the ones that like I was a freshman, you know what I mean, and they hazed us. He like they threw all the freshmen in the shower with all their clothes on, which is like not the worst form of hazing considering at that time, like, there was some schools doing some crazy stuff, but it's funny to look back, like, that's my homie now, but, like, at the time, and I knew it was coming at some point because I remember I was a pretty big kid, but then when I hit ninth grade, like, we had 4 linemen over 6 feet and 300 pounds, and I thought they were people's dads when I got to
Holy
practice. I was like, "Oh,
shit.
whose dads are these?" And they were just our, like, guard. I was like, "Damn." And so, yeah, that's, kind of like a funny thing about that.
So when you're coming up in, Mount Oliver/Pittsburgh, right? How would you describe how this city was like that raised you, that really shaped you as a person?
I would say it's very true about Pittsburgh, man. Blue collar, a lot of people just working, you know what I'm saying? Like tough, like construction, driveway. Everybody knew a guy, an uncle, got him started early. I mean, people when I was young started jobs at 14, and they could not wait to get jobs, get money. There was like a youth core thing that you could get at like it was a youth group or something, not youth group, something like that. at 14, where I was from in Mount Oliver. It was tough, you know what I mean? Because we were around some tough neighborhoods too. Like people were always looking to fight or do, meet up places and scrap. But the Mount Oliver that I knew growing up didn't have as much gun violence. Like people did still get jumped, scrapped. You know what I mean? Someone might throw a brick through your car window. Dumb stuff like that. I mean, it's the ignorance is bliss. I mean, if I probably look back on it, I'm like, that's kind of a shitty kind of way of it. But it was, you entertained yourself, you figured it out. Um, people drink a lot in Pittsburgh. It's a drinking city. You know what I mean? A lot of the adults I remember young, it's funny because 'cause they're my age now, and they all had that alcoholic voice, "The one that's like this, Panda," you know what I mean, dude? Like, and it's like they've been drinking all day, like, soon as they got off work, drinking in, like, painter pants and shit.
Somebody told me that it's comparable to like South Boston, where there's like a lot of like Irish, German, Eastern, like European guys, very working class, but a lot of street guys too.
The thing I'll say about Pittsburgh, and I've said this for a long time, I've been to South Boston. I haven't really gone to specifically soak up the culture, so I can't comment if there's definitely a lot of hardworking guys, but a lot of Pittsburgh is kinda segregated.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So, like, it's kinda jive, man, like, it really is, like, when you look at how they up and just dropped a hockey arena right in, like, one of the most predominant black neighborhoods in Pittsburgh, like, not in it, but, like, right on the doorstep, you know what I'm saying? That, like, Pittsburgh is, so, like, yeah, there's a lot of, Polish, Irish, and again, hardworking people and whatever, but the neighborhoods are very segregated in Pittsburgh quietly. Like it's not as loud about it, but um yeah, I mean it's a sports town. That's the one thing that probably brings the most people together is like the Steelers and stuff like that.
right. For you, when you were growing up, did that segregation or like that quiet segregation like affect you at all as far as like how your friends were or anything like that?
We were so again, I went to schools like when I was in elementary, I went to a place called Philip Murray, and it was right in the part of this neighborhood, St. Clair. And so that was predominantly black, probably like 60-40. And it was tough. And then I went to Knoxville, which again, 60-40. And this is the 90s. And like when I first got there, like they were chasing white kids home and like fucking them up. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't till high school that I got into again, even my high school was probably 60-40 black, and so but it was a much more chill environment. Like, my middle school was fucking tough, man, like and I was very fortunate. I came as a 6th grader, but my homie that lived on the street with me, black dude, uh, named Money, he was in 7th. So, like, I remember him telling homies, like, "Nah, he's cool, like, dude's cool." And cause a lot of those dudes that would chase people home and, like, they all got, like, murder cases. They're all doing life and shit now. Like, they were some it was tough, man, like, it was tough. And so, the funniest thing I laugh about is the first time I got a real culture shock is college when I was surrounded by white people. I was like, "There's so many white people here." And, like, in my college, there was so many white people, and they would just go to class in, like, hoodies and flip-flops, and I'm like, "Man, if I would've done this in elementary and middle, we would've roasted me," like and that's the crazy part, like, the schools that I went to were poor, but you always had to know how to roast people so no one knew you were just as poor as the person before that you was roasting, you know what I mean? So I'm like, "These dudes are" you know what I mean? They're coming from, whatever, $500,000 incomes at home, and they're dressed in, like, Aeropostale hoodies that, the lettering's falling off and flip-flops and mismatched socks and hair looking like crazy,
Like they just
and it
rolled
was
out
it
of
was a
bed.
culture shock for me, and yeah, I was like, "What the hell is going on?" I'm like, "This is crazy."